Hello, party people. Welcome to another edition of Corbin Dallas Says. All right, this week we have Barbarian Event coming up on the weekend. I keep getting asked, hey man, how do you hit these barbs? So I'm going to share with you how I hit them. I don't want to see a bunch of comments from a bunch of people who already know how to hit, telling me how they do it with their 5,200 bonuses. Nobody cares. All right, jump right into it because I only have 10 minutes on the old Bandicam. If you see spears in range as your hive, you will need to counter that using sword battle line. Your sword battle line you want is set up with line advance using mastery. You want to have one yeoman and 9 swords. Okay. This is the formation. This is the tactic. The battle plan is mastery. All right. So that's spears in range. Now, if we come to Cav Shock, if you see Cav Shock, what you want to counter that with is a spears in range setup. Now, you want to also use line advance here. The line advance, because Cav Shock only has 2 sets of archers, you have a whole lot of melee, and melee bonuses come in the form of line advance. All right, here you want to put down 1 yeoman, 8 spear. Now, when you go to fill this, this will happen, okay? But it won't happen until the very end, so don't lose faith. Don't mess this up. But 1 cav, if you only have 1 squad of cav, he'll fill in right there in the middle. Okay, line advance and spears, and this is to counter Cav Shock. Okay, next up, the sword battle line. If you see sword battle line, this is probably the most complicated to fill, not necessarily the hardest to defeat, but the most complicated to fill. Now, when you counter the sword battle line, what you want to use is bows behind swords, and I try to use war cry and deadly resolve. All of this is about morale to keep your troops from running away and to make the other ones feel defeated and run away with even more health, or more numbers of them run away. Okay, so on sword battle line, you want to do a yeoman, 4 archers. Okay, now this is the important part. While you might see 3 swords and 2 horses, you want to do the exact opposite. You want 3 horses and 2 swords. So when you start to fill, that is how it will fill, and that's what you want to use. You want to use this, and this counters the sword battle line. It's complicated because when your members are trying to fill, they always get confused because the 3 swords start to fill first until the squad number of horses overtakes the squad number of swords. All right. Next up is your artillery defense. When you see artillery defense, this seems easy. It is actually a little more difficult than you might think. Here you want to go with evasiveness. Why do you want to use evasiveness? Because while your squads are on the move, you want to dodge those siege towers, right? Those siege towers are dropping bombs on you guys, so you don't want that. So pick this, pick line advance right there, and the tactic you want to use here is actually the sword battle line. So when you use sword battle line, you throw this right here, okay? So this will counter your artillery defense. Make sure sword battle line, when you pick the line advance, that you change the battle plan to evasiveness to offset the damage done by the siege machines. All right, next up is the one everybody hates, which is bows behind swords. This is by far the hardest to clear. in the entire game. Every horde is massively difficult to clear with this. You want to pick charge flanks and ambush. This was developed specifically for attacking the bows behind swords. And you want to use it on Cav center is the formation you use. So you want to set this up. This one's also a little complicated. I always have people, fill the yeoman. Make sure you don't exceed the squad number. The squad number you want for yeoman, since you're only sending one, is the total march size divided by 10. So if the march size is 192, which your rally will be much higher than that, you don't want the squad size to be exactly 192. Fill that. Then have people add horses. You're going to need 7 horses. Okay, you want 7 horses here, and 2 spears. So what you're going to do when you go to fill this, the spears will fill in right there. And that is what you're going to use to counter BBS. Good luck. It's extremely difficult. You got to use all my upcoming tips and tricks to attack this to get it with any prayer of getting it with major numbers left on it. All right, the last one that we see is the actual Cav center. When you see Cav center, you're going to want to just counter this with spears right here. Use spears in range. I tend to use nerves of steel. Last stand or early rush. Early rush makes it last a little longer. Really, it's not that difficult, so I typically just pick whatever I have on the nerves of steel. So there we go, nerves of steel. And you counter this thing. Yep, you counter, and this is for Cav center, this is counter, is that you throw down 1 yeoman and you fill the rest with spears. Keep in mind, the complexity is driven by how many different troop types you have. The more troop types you have, the harder it is to fill. Okay, now comes the tips. And the tips are as follows. Balance is 100% key to anything. You need to maximize the size. If you have too many of any one squad, you will lower the overall attack that you have. Okay? Size matters. It's better to use the Marshal title. Whoever is rallying should have the Marshal title and not the Guardian title. Size matters. Okay. Things you can do. You can enhance. When you come in here and you go to this, you can enhance your tactic. Enhancing your tactic makes it a little bit stronger. Don't forget to use alchemy. Alchemy, then war, and then I always pick whatever I have the most troops of. So you want to get spears, attack health 25% on this, and so on and so forth. Make sure you pray. You can spy to gather intel, gives you 30% health. Use your epics, your 100% army attack and health, your 200% encounter attack and health. Make sure that just before you go to hit barbs, you put on the encounter's cloak and go hit 5 camps. That'll load up the encounter cloak, gold or purple. If you have the heroic DC rally cloak, make sure that after you set in size and you get ready to launch, you have the rally cloak set in your gear. And for God's sake, subscribe to VIP. All of those things will give you bonuses. You can always, if you want, you can sub in a mercenary. Mercenary squads will give you 100% bonus. All right, those are all my tips, tricks, and counters for barbs. Good luck this weekend. March on.